Dan was just, like I mentioned earlier, one of Chuck's favorite hallway conversants. Whether they were fighting about something or talking about something, they just really got along, and it wouldn't be a normal kind of weekday for me unless I saw Chuck and Dan talking over in the kitchen. So thank you so much for coming, Dan. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
It's great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. So I took this opportunity to also just learn a little bit more about Chuck's early career. So I went and I Googled Chuck Rohde, and I found out he went to Hereford High School here. He graduated in 1955. On the bottom, on the left side, that's Chuck playing chess, right? Yeah, right. So what I want to say is that when I came here, they would play Kriegspiel, right? It was Richard Royal and Robbie, and I can't remember all the other people, and Jeff Bloom. But Chuck never played, right? He would just like be the referee and just like all this banter, and so I didn't think he really played chess, right? Maybe he kind of knew the rules, but he was part of the chess and cards club there. So we have evidence that he actually at least took a picture playing chess. Then also, he was an amazing basketball player. And this is not the picture from online. There's a better one of him actually literally playing. But he's number 5. And he was an amazing, and I think in his obituary, they said in his senior year, he like scored some amazing number of points. He was the leading scorer. So, and I know that, I love playing basketball. I know Scott was a big basketball player. And so I was really chummed to see this picture of him. So that was awesome. So I also took this opportunity to look at some of Chuck's scholarship. I wonder what did Chuck do in the 1960s when he was getting his PhD. So I looked up some of his articles. He worked on generalized inverses. So like imagine you're doing a regression and your design matrix is not full rank, so you can't kind of invert it. So he worked, but let's say you're interested in some linear combination of the parameters. Well, you can use something called generalized inverses. So he worked a lot on that. But this, I love this quote, right? So he's writing this paper about generalized inverses, right? And then he says, "We are now ready for the coup de grace." It's like, who writes that? That's awesome. Like, I got to use that phrase in a paper, totally. But then he wrote a paper called Unified Least Squares. So this is like in the 1960s. Let me see if I can read a little. Let's see, the abbreviated Doolittle. So there's Doolittle technique, which was like easier, an effective way of sort of solving equations. And similar computing are widely used in linear explanation problems, especially when the models are not full rank. Recently, the authors observed that the same techniques applied in identically the same fashion to models of less than full rank, and it appears this fact is not widely known, as evidenced in part by the treatment of the subject in recent textbooks. And although such computing techniques as such assume less importance in this age of high-speed electronic computers, their consideration is indispensable to pedagogy. So he was very interested in understanding the foundations and being able to kind of teach these kind of things. And then he has a paper called The Bayesian Methods and the Analysis of the Generalized Linear Model. I didn't know that he worked on this. And again, if you read through here, he says, the proofs involved seem to the author to be simple enough to present in statistical theory courses at the senior or first year graduate level, where they permit a unified look at the analysis of linear models using Bayesian methods. So again, thinking about teaching and communicating ideas. I would talk about causal inference. He would call it casual inference. He was always trying to do that kind of stuff, right? And so, but what we did agree on was we were both really committed to the foundations of statistical inference. So that's where we kind of really meshed. And we were also kind of meshed around. We weren't really sure where the future of statistics was going. So we have kind of a lot of skepticism about that, and we would bitch and moan about it a lot. And so he gave me a copy of his book, and he wrote, "Dan, keep up the fight," right? And this is about, keeping foundations on the table, right? And, I think we sort of, we bonded around that. He would learn the latest version of LaTeX. He would be learning R. He would be learning WinBugs. He was always reading articles and stuff like that. So that's something I really kind of admired about Chuck. He just kept trying to learn, right? He had this amazing eye for talent, right? I mean, identified Chuck, Scott, and Kung Yi, and Ron, and Steve Self, and Hendrix Brown, and Karen, and Subash, and Mei Chen. This amazing group. He has an amazing eye for talent. And then, like, Brian Caffel comes along, and I swear to God, and maybe this is not true, but it's like my memory of it, but like, you gave your job talk about like p-values in like 2x2 tables or r/c tables or something like that. Is that right? Yeah. And like totally not a Chuck thing, but like Chuck loved Brian, right? I mean, Brian was like his favorite recruit. Like he had this amazing eye. What did he see in him? I don't understand, but like he was right. Scott, what?
You thought he could save him.
Maybe that was what, but he just saw this. Exactly, and he saved him, and I mean, like, it's like one of the best hires, like in my time here. It's like a really amazing eye for talent. And that's something that I'm trying to kind of like, think about. Like, what would Chuck think about this person, and that eye for talent. And he would always, lend an ear. He would always suggest a paper. And so it was a very important colleague of mine. Now, Chuck used to send me I was in his inner circle, I think, of inappropriate emails that he would send around. I don't mean like really inappropriate. I mean like, just gaudy jokes, that kind of thing. And I spent about an hour this morning trying to find a picture to conclude this talk or this memory. And I wanted to sort of do it in the spirit of those emails, but I was kind of like uncomfortable. I don't know how people. But he left his mark on the department, and not in a territorial way, but in a very deep way that has really made this department really, really unique in the world. Right? It is a very special place. And now being someplace else, I can even appreciate more about how special it is. So thank you, Chuck, for leaving your mark on the department. And believe me, I was looking at pictures that were way more inappropriate than this. But and this is a sculpture in Belgium. Okay, so thank you.